Hare Krishna
Hare
Vilas Prabhu. Welcome to
Hare
Thrive and
Krishna,
Bhakti.
Krishna Prabhu, Hare Krishna.
Thanks
Dandavad
for
Pranam.
pranams. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. I'm so grateful. My name is Badra Singh. I'm having a podcast here today, kind of spontaneous with Vilas Sindhu Prabhu here in Auckland, and I just like to tell you a little bit about Thriving Bhakti because we kind of met at the Govardhan Festival, and I saw you in the queue and hadn't sort of seen you for a while. We haven't had we've known each other a little bit from a distance in our services in the community. But I was just really impressed, how healthy Balasindu looks and is, and he's obviously in the maturing ages of the physical body, very vibrant. I can see in his eyes he's healthy. So, as in Thriving Bhakti, a little background for those who are listening or watching. Thriving Bhakti is a community. Well, the podcasts are for people to listen to, but I have an inside private community where I help devotees who are struggling in some areas of their life that's affecting their ability to be Krishna conscious or to practice Krishna consciousness. That can be physical issues, sometimes emotional issues, or it's just like planning, busy life. Believe it or not, and I say I'm quite outspoken. I know thousands and thousands of devotees are struggling with their sadhana, their hearing, their chanting and reading, and I know where they want to be, right? But they're often stuck. And what Thriving Bhakti does is we address, and I think this is going to be a little of your story, because I've just got a little hint before we had a little chat before the podcast, that we're often bringing into our bhakti either positive mindsets and habits because of how we were raised, influences, key influences in our life, maybe parents, maybe family members or work experience, or we actually might be bringing in negative habits and thinking that's actually affecting our ability to practice bhakti. Because what I say in Thriving Bhakti, we're actually in a habit industry. We are a habit culture, right? We're all about consistent, persistent daily habits to reach our goal. Although it's the heart, the habits are the commitment in the beginning, right? And through the duty, we develop love, right? So we're going to discuss today, I think it'll be useful for every devotee, young and those maturing and moving on to the next life. How important, so this is the area today, it's about health. So we're talking about mindset and health and how health is really critical because now I'm in my 50s and I'm so glad because I haven't reached Prem yet.
Yeah.
I'm developing my bhakti in this lifetime. It's a career that I really realize how important it is as I've got older now, that if I have ailments, I have physical problems or I have mental problems, they really do affect me because I'm still a kanishta, I'm still a practicing sadhaka. And if those things get out of hand, it's quite difficult to practice. And on the other side, even if we are advancing and we have developed higher stages of beyond nishta and beyond, obviously we can do more service if we're healthy, right? So I think this will be useful for everyone to really take on board today. I think this is going to be a great example. I have no idea what's coming myself as well. I know there's going to be some nectar here, but from Vilas Sindhu, I'd like to, talk about how we were in the queue. I met you and we got talking about health, and I said, "Hey, you look really healthy." So a little bit about who you are and background before Krishna conscious, how you came in, and a little bit of your story would be awesome, so the viewers can understand you a little bit.
Yeah, Prabhuji. I came to New Zealand about 2002, and just like every other migrant, I started doing odd jobs and ended up in working for Sky City. I worked there as a croupier for a few years, and I thought it was sin. Somehow, that started coming to my mind. What I'm doing is not right.
Or
I,
croupier is like doing the gambling in the
yes,
Sky City. Let's just for our
yeah.
viewers, Sky City is a gambling casino area in central Auckland. Yeah.
Us to see people, losing thousands and thousands of dollars, and then
Wow.
oh, and they used to give a look as if I've snatched their money. I thought they're cursing me or something. So I
Mm.
thought one day, nah, that's enough. I want to get out of this place. So I resigned. So I jumped into another ditch. I jumped from that ditch. I came into another worse ditch called as I opened a liquor store.
Right. Okay.
See how life take turns.
Mm.
I ran that for a few years, and again, I thought about 2011. I said, "Nah, that's it. I'm not going to." And those days, those artificial cannabis used to come, used
Yeah.
to sell it in the, what you call those
Yeah, the legal
synthetic,
highs, legal
yeah, yeah,
highs.
legal highs, those days. And one day there was a gig out up in Mount Smart Road, and a lot of youngsters came down to my store asking for those stuff. And I sold them. I mean, it was legal, and I was making good money as well. Somehow it struck me, and then I said, nah, that's enough. Sold everything. I started a restaurant and a bar, which didn't go well. That went into liquidation. I had no job. So I started driving buses, Prabhuji. And while driving, I used to see this Harinam
Mm.
Friday evenings and see how destiny plays. You might be knowing Mangal Vrata Prabhu. He's a very old devotee. So he used to jump into my bus and I used to drop him off at Meadowbank. And he gave me one book, which is called Bhagavad Gita.
Mm.
And that's how, I mean, slowly started developing that. And I used to like that Harinam. And I used to pray internally, why can't I join them, Why can't I had that desire to join Harinam? And finally I joined. I prayed God, oh, and slowly I started coming to the temple. And I think the third visit, I gave up my meat and, I was a vegetarian.
Wow.
Somebody happened to ask me, are you vegetarian? And until the previous night, I had some, and I had something. And suddenly it came up, no. I said, I'm vegetarian. And that was right in front of Krishna. And that was it.
Wow. The
That
power,
was it.
power of
Yeah.
Harinam.
Yeah. That was it. And all my vices, one shot, one day, one moment, everything straight off.
Wow.
Yeah. And since then, I started coming to temple slowly. And, yeah.
Mm.
And finally, few years, uh, prior few years, I've been initiated by His Grace, His Holiness Devamrita Maharaj Prabhu.
Ah, we're God brothers.
Yes, Prabhu.
Oh, I didn't know. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so
Yeah, I'm down in little South Auckland here. I
yeah,
focused in a little satellite here, and oh wow, Hare Krishna.
yeah,
Oh, I do remember now. I
yeah.
do. So I had a concussion a couple of years ago. My memory has been quite up and down. I've forgotten a lot, because anyway, that's the whole thing. So it's all coming back to me now. Yeah, I had a lot of trouble with that. So I don't want, that's not what we're here tonight, but I did have a situation. So wow, transformation.
Coming down to my health, um, I was bad. I mean, I used to exercise during my young ages. I had a good physique and everything. I was into, but then off late, I mean, since I came to New Zealand, everything, I
Mm,
never went a few months here and there, and then I never really was keen. But few years back, I was detected with diabetes
oh,
type 2, so and a bit of knee pain. So when I tested, started getting a bit of arthritis.
arthritis. Right?
I said, "Nah, it's the bells are ringing now. You need to take care of your health," and that's how. And since then, I've been regularly gymming.
Yep, I can see
I go
that.
to the gym. I don't do yoga though, but I do all sort of stretches and yeah.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
and
So
I saw
yeah.
actually
So your habits, how would they look? Like an average week for you, exercise wise and diet wise. What's your sort of routine over the last 6 months or something?
diet is morning breakfast is a bit of oats with few nuts in that.
Hmm.
I don't take milk. It bloats me,
Hmm.
so I just add water. So it's plain oats and with few nuts and a bit of honey in that.
Hmm.
Yeah, or maybe some raisins to make it a bit sweeter,
Yep.
palatable. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, at about 6 o'clock I have that. About 10 o'clock I'll have a fruit or something,
Hmm.
and then midday I'll have my lunch.
Hmm.
In between midday and 12, 12:15 in between. I don't deviate. So usually I stick to that time, Yeah.
Regulated, yeah.
Yeah. 4 o'clock, about 3:30, I'll have another fruit.
Hmm.
Yeah. And then come home and then straight to the gym.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
How many times did you go to the gym?
About 4 days a week.
And how long for?
That's about, I try and finish my workout within 50 minutes,
50.
50.
Great. Mm.
Stretch up to 1 hour. I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But I try to wrap it up in
Mm.
50 minutes. Yeah.
That's awesome. And over these couple of years that you've got into your health a bit more and your diet, you had a bit of a wake up call. Um, what changes have you seen in your health overall and in your clarity, your energy, and your kind of how that's impacted maybe on your regulation and ability to focus here and chant and things like that? Has that had any, is there any overlay there?
No, it's actually improved. It's
Yeah.
actually improved. You
What, the
mentally,
hearing and chanting
yeah,
because of the exercise?
exercises, yeah.
Yeah.
And and when you exercise, you are within yourself, your body, your weight, and your, what you think that time, it's more of
You're grounded.
grounded, yeah. That
Mm,
1 hour or that 50 minutes is really very vital, for your mental health, your physical health.
mm. And you've noticed quite how that's, maybe can you describe a little bit how with that, because I'll go a little bit into more of the science because I do health consults and I go a little bit more into the science behind this and the common, I call it common science, common sense stuff that you don't really, there's a lot of things around food. And I think in our ISKCON, in our world of devotees, I think this is really key because we don't necessarily have the right mindset for our health.
Yeah.
We think, well, I'm not the body, and I can eat temple food all the prasadam all the time, and deep fried and these kinds of as we get older. So for you, maybe as you started to exercise, how can you explain, like in terms of your life, in terms of managing your regulation and your hearing and chanting? Could you describe a little bit how it helped, or?
See, mornings I wake up about 5 o'clock, 5-ish,
Hmm.
and then get ready for my, do my pujas and everything, and then get ready, have my breakfast, go to work, come. And then, I mean, I don't complete my 16 round early mornings because,
Yeah, yeah.
later on I come, I chant for a bit. Then after I come from exercise,
Hmm.
do my bit of chanting. I usually do about 18 to 20 rounds.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't restrict myself to 16.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
great. Good to
Yeah.
up our
And
chanting.
yeah. And then after that, evenings, I try and read some Bhagavad Gita or some books,
Yeah.
Prabhupada's books. Yeah. A few pages, 15, 20 minutes. That's it.
Mm.
Yeah. But
Yeah,
it
it's
gives
awesome because
yeah, it gives solace to you, in my mind and my heart. Yeah.
so this is great because the as we learn in Thrive in Bhakti, we read success books that are very favorable ones, like on like Atomic Habits, The Compound Effect. These are great books that teach you how every small decision we make compounds over time. Right? You have one donut a day. Say I ate one donut today and a donut tomorrow. For 1 month, you wouldn't see anything. You would
Right.
see very little change.
Yeah.
3 months, maybe a little bit. 6 months, you would see the weight gain.
Yeah.
So this comes down to our thinking, our thoughts, negative, positive. It comes down to our, going to the gym. So one thing I like about going to doing exercises is that it's not that we have to do a lot.
No.
20 to 30, or if you can do 50 minutes a day regularly is better than going to the gym 4 hours in one go, or
Oh,
just 2 hours a week. Consistent and persistent. Because Prabhupada, in his later years, very later years of his physical body, he was walking a lot, and the disciples found it hard to keep up with him. But every day he would land, do his morning walk, right? Now he was in his 70s and 80s, right? But in
yes.
our years, we should be running or doing a bit more than just walking. Although, even if you did the walking, that would be fantastic. What we call power walking, and that regular exercise helps the mental health. I love the way you described. There's science behind this. When you do and you exercise 20 to 30 minutes of exercise or more, and it really pushes yourself, and you're sweating, and you're breathing, and you're really getting into it. It releases about 2 to 3 hours of serotonin and dopamine in the brain, which is basically like an antidepressant.
Yes.
And you feel elevated, you sweat out toxins, and I think devotees need to be aware that we can think I'm a yogi, then I need to be sedentary. I've done my work for the day, I've been to the office, I come down, I sit down, have prasad chant, but
Yeah.
you've got to move the machine.
Yeah.
And I tell you what, looking at you and these years that you've gone, obviously you were quite fit in your younger years till you came to New Zealand. You were very healthy. Of course, that's been like, say, 10, 15 years you were getting your businesses and doing all other things. But muscle memory. So even if you've done exercise for a couple of decades and you
Yeah.
stop, because I had chronic fatigue for 8 years, I did Aikido and swimming for 20 years. When I went back to swimming and Aikido after that 5 to 8 year break, it was very quick for me to get back into it
Yes.
because I'd done the groundwork before.
Yeah.
So I think it's very, what would you say from your experience and life experience and what you've been through and even just becoming a devotee, but just in a general common sense way, what would you say to someone who is a devotee in their, I don't know, 20s, 30s, or in their 30s who have families? Advice would you give them regarding like thinking of their long-term health
Yeah.
and the impact that might have on their son? And what advice would you give from your wisdom of your journey so far to help devotees think a little about the future of their health?
I think with this lifestyle what we are living or in general, even as a devotee, what you do is you put a very monotonous day, I mean, for a general any devotee, it's very monotonous. You wake up in the morning, you do your aradhana, your puja, then go to work, come back, cook food, and then you do your chanting, then read book, and then you go to bed. That's pretty much most of our devotees do. And over years, what happens is, I mean, your eating habits. I mean, though we are vegetarian and we eat sattvic, still we take a lot of carbs, and I mean,
And seed oils.
yes, it needs to get burned somewhere.
Yeah.
It was a perfect example of yours. You eat one donut, two donut, but over a period it accumulates, and you start putting. Similarly, those even what you eat, good stuff can act as a toxic. It can become toxic, seed oils, this and that. So need to, you
Yeah.
know, yeah. So exercise is very vital. And I think for your body, your mental fitness, everything, you need to. I mean, I would request everyone, all the devotees to, pull out 40, 50 minutes, or even a brisk walk, 40 minutes of brisk walk. That's
Yes.
very good. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
This is,
you would cover about what, 4.5 kilometers in about 40, 45 minutes.
yeah.
That should be enough, I think. Yeah.
You can put an audio on.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to, yeah. I mean, through a team of very successful people I work with, not just financially, but they're very holistic entrepreneurs. Had a presentation from an ex-British Royal Marine, done 20 years of service or 15 years of service as a Marine. And then he studied neuropsychology and neuroscience. And he started to really show you that one of the biggest reason people are sick is because they don't exercise. It's yes, we have all these toxins, we have all these things we're fighting off. We've got 5G or whatever you want to get into it. Or we have pesticide. The power of exercise. He cures people from cancer through exercise. See, so what I'm stressing today is, and you as a living example, like if we just prioritize some daily exercise. I know, okay, you do 50, so maybe parents with 2 kids right now, working jobs, minimum 20 minutes. But in that 20 minutes, if you can sweat and you can get out of breath, and I say to devotees when I do health consults with them, like, what's fun for you? Like one devotee was like, I used to play table tennis. I said, do table tennis. So sometimes to do the sport regularly, we need to, not everyone's a gym person, right? But the payoff, the long-term payoff from exercise is incalculable. Because we see a lot of devotees. I see a lot of devotees, and I know and I'd like to hear your perception. I see a lot of devotees with bellies, like the beard, what we call the Brahmin's belly.
Yeah, yeah.
They're quite hunched and they're in their 40s. They're kind of tired, and I don't think. I mean, we're hardworking. We are. I'm not saying it's the only factor here, but what do you think exercise could do for them? And watching their diet, like what are they eating?
Yeah, that's pretty important. What you eat and how much you eat.
Yeah,
You need to set your portions, I mean, you can't be eating bowl full of halwas or,
yeah,
you need to balance it.
yeah,
You have to. I mean, as a devotee, I would request everyone to balance their diet.
yeah. What does that balance mean? Let's get specific.
It's not you eat up to your, up to your gullet,
Yeah,
it's what you need, I mean,
yeah, yeah,
it's metabolism is different for different people and, the
yeah.
stomach.
Yeah, it is individualized. It's true. Everyone's got
Yeah.
a different type of body. So one fit doesn't fit all. One size doesn't fit all. That's true.
Yeah. So you need to set what is good for you as portion. Few days, it might be very difficult, I mean, but then once you get used to it, it becomes a pattern and you get used to it.
Yeah. Mode of goodness means poison in the beginning, nectar at the end, right?
Yes, nicotine.
And we
Yeah.
feel like, because prasadam's so attractive, of course, it's non different than Krishna. But still, I point out to devotees, if you read the Srimad Bhagavatam, and you can prove me wrong, there's nowhere in there it talks about overeating. In fact, Prabhupada explains a lot about how we reduce our eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. We
Yeah.
reduce. Of course, people say, well, it's prasadam, Krishna consciousness is a life of festivals, but these instructions are meant to be with applied intelligence. We are meant to, of course, when you're young, you can handle those. But now we see the research that's bringing up so much research now on how much sugar, especially refined sugars. And in our temples, we use a lot of refined sugar,
Yes.
refined flours. We keep reusing seed oils, which are very toxic. Yeah. In India, by the way, I looked in some research into this, but in India, they never had these issues with the heart and the
Yeah.
cholesterol. And it wasn't, and if you go back to when they started going away from ghee and butter to seed oils,
Yeah.
you see the change in the illnesses in India where it was butter and ghee, because butter and ghee are good for the heart. Again, with intelligence, not that you just drink butter and ghee, but these are good. And your brain cells, I can't remember what the percentage is, but your brain cells are 80% fat. They're surrounded by fat. So they've linked Alzheimer's and mental health problems because people have gone on low fat diets. We actually need fat for the brain, but it's not these ultra processed. But I'll give you an example. All these seed oils, they heat them to 400 degrees Celsius in the first stage, which turns them toxic. Then they go misty. So then they have to make them clear using chemicals to distill. Then they have to odorize these oils because they smell horrible. And then they put them in the supermarket. So if you are going to get oils, you need to get cold pressed virgin oils at the very basic. But things like coconut oil, avocado oil.
Yeah.
So olive oil, they say, is healthy, but you don't heat it up.
No.
Don't heat it up hard. But ghee, you see, back in the day, ghee and butter were good for the heart, good for the body in the right moderation per the constitution of the body. So we look in our temples and our festivals, every week we're eating halava
Yeah.
and, process a lot of alt because food is, I studied anthropology, my background is in the anthropology of food. So
Okay.
I've been around the food and I was a vegetarian or pescatarian since I was about 13. I didn't come to Krishna consciousness until I was about 30. So I'd been around and learned a bit about food in the 90s and how it was processed, but now food is ultra processed, the sugars and stuff. So, if we're going to be healthy moving forward, we have to reduce that sugar to very minimal, and as you said, portions and prasadam is real good, right?
Absolutely. It's so palatable, but you need to restrict yourself. You need to
Yeah.
know, I mean, yeah, to
You
limit
want,
yourself.
yeah, you got to really watch your diet. It's key. And with the diet comes the exercise. The two go together, right?
Right. Yeah.
Like you're saying, you can take good things, but if you're not, one thing I learned recently, just to share, there's when you release serotonin in your brain, so you do exercise, you have serotonin, right? Feel good, feel great, fantastic, right? Like everything in this material world, there's always a byproduct of happiness. There's always a negative. So there's actually a toxin that is released as a byproduct of the serotonin,
Mm.
and it sits in the brain. And if it isn't evacuated from the brain or expelled from the body, sorry, it stays there. And then it becomes harder to get the effect of the serotonin you had before. So when you're doing exercises, you're getting serotonin and you're getting rid of the byproduct that. So when people go into depression, they do less exercise, right? So when they are happy and the brains that byproduct is sitting in the brain. So we have to expel these things from the body, and that is one of the primary reasons we need to do a lot of exercise, and also to be flexible. We're all doing
Yes.
office jobs, working from home. The more sedentary you are, you know what sedentary means? The more less active we are, the quicker you age.
Age, yeah.
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 So our last study I'll talk about, and then we'll ask you another question is this is the longest standing study, longevity study done on health. Goes over many decades and a high population. And this gentleman from who was explaining this, so this from Stanford, Yale. This is like a longevity study over decades. Showed that if you smoke and you drink and you do exercise every day, you will live longer than someone who doesn't drink and doesn't smoke, who does no exercise.
Yeah.
Now, just think about that. Like from one of the largest studies, longevity studies ever done, right? So just being vegetarian, which doesn't make you healthy, right? And vegetarian, you can eat peanuts and bread every day and say you're vegetarian. Right? It doesn't make you healthy, right? So that exercise is key. And you were sharing about now I want to get into those questions, right? Obviously, you were business minded. You had a certain mindset because you wouldn't have just come in and started up businesses and
No.
done things. So can you explain? Do you think some of the reason you've changed and made decisions and managed your life? I know you made change, okay, but running businesses is and especially a self-employed business that's a risk take thing. It's got a
Yeah.
lot of those who've never had an S quadrant business. It takes a certain mindset to succeed in
Yeah.
those arenas, right? So do you think some of the mindset before growing up, or could you talk about like your influences and your mindset that when you came into Bhakti, you found that, oh, that way of thinking and that attitude and that mindset, I can use that and it's actually helped me apply the Bhakti. Does that make sense? Like you had some advantages of your from your previous. I'm not saying what you did, but how you were thinking and your mindset, how that might have helped you become who you are today in terms of like your devotional habits and your regulation and
Yeah. I mean, I might not be very accurate or onto that to your question, but uh, as a business owner, I mean, I used to spend a lot of time, 7 days work. I mean, you can't leave a shop, or, I mean, it's like a dairy business. You come in the morning,
like a dairy.
like a dairy. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, a liquor store was like, you have to be there.
Yeah,
There was an element of risk as well, I mean, with all those people coming in with,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. So, and boys were growing up, they were going to school, they started uni, and it was, and plus this young people coming and buying, and I mean, I didn't actually, I started hating it, and then
Mm,
luckily I got into Krishna conscious, and yeah, and I found myself to have a lot of time,
mm,
even though I used to work. I mean, I used to work shift work when I used to drive, and when it's I used to do shift work and still had so much time for my family, and then slowly getting into bhakti.
mm,
So I'm the mindset changed altogether. I mean, I was a very commercial person. I mean, everything was. you think it's commercial, where you can make money, how you can make money, how you can,
Yeah, but that's the key. Where did that mindset come from growing up and in your 20s and stuff? Growing up around your dad, that sounds like a person who's you're focused, you understand that you need to have a goal and you just work to it and that work ethic. Where did that come from?
My dad wasn't a very rich person. I mean, he was an ordinary worker. He raised us. We were three,
Mm,
two sisters and myself. We weren't very affluent in, I mean, money wise, or we were. But then I used to see people, I had that aim of earning money, I had that, or
mm,
somehow to make money.
mm.
And I passed out my MBA. I worked for a few years, couple of years, and then I started not work wise. I won't get rich. I need to start something, and
Where did
slowly
that come from? Where did that come from? Why did you think? What were you observing? What was your thinking when you saw people? I don't want to work. At least I want to work for myself. I need a business. Was that you said like influencers and money
yeah.
focus? Did you have role models that?
Yeah, my friends, they were all businessmen and they all had flash cars, this and that. And I mean, I wasn't envying them, but I wanted to own one of my cars, one of my
Uh,
flashy cars, a good house, and I wasn't married, but I was planning to get married. In back home, you get married very early. I got married at about 25, at the age of 25.
mm,
I just wanted to make money.
mm.
So I quit the job. I took a risk and started my business over there.
And so when you say your friends, just to get into a little bit more detail, you saw them, they had everything, but did you kind of observe them? Did you kind of observe the way they
Yes,
think and what they do and the decisions they make?
absolutely. Yes.
Okay, this is key. This is
Yeah.
key. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That was, yeah. I mean, the way they were, I used to sit with them. I used to spend hours with them in their shop,
Yeah, this is what this, yeah.
looking at how they,
Yeah.
attend the customers. They were into consumer durables like televisions, fridges, and
Yeah,
all
yeah,
those kind of consumer durables. Sit there, watch him dealing with people, dealing with the salespeople who used to come into,
yeah,
and that really helped
yeah.
me. And my background was MBA marketing as well, so theoretically also I was a bit, you know, uh, well equipped.
Yeah.
So yeah, and that the theoretical plus practical what I
Wow.
observed from my friends, and yeah,
So
and
you,
that made,
so you actually were absorbing a mindset. You
yes,
were observing the outcome that they were getting,
yeah,
and you were observing the work ethic and the
yes,
habits, right?
yeah.
Right? Yeah. So I think, and I could be wrong. You came over and you did things here in New Zealand, of course. You went into, you set that up, but you tried it. But when you came to Bhakti, I think, you've that kind of way that I know I can do something if I set my mind to it. I know that it takes me. I've got to, when you got your self-employed business, it's you're employed yourself. You've got that resilience to be able to manage yourself, to put things in place to get results. And I can see you kind of, as you came into Bhakti, that mindset has set you up in your Bhakti also. I think it's aided your Bhakti. Would you agree?
Yes, yes, it has. It
Yeah.
has.
Because we could flip it. Oh, go
Yeah.
on. Did you have a
Yeah.
comment?
And it's so surprising, when I see senior devotees, and sometimes when I come to loft as well, I see people so devoted and so, they, it's, there's no words for it, the way they do the service and everything. And that's, sometimes boils in me. Why can't I? Why can't I?
Well,
you
you
know,
are.
yeah,
Well, that's a good, we're always aspiring to be like others. It's like a businessman. You saw those guys, you wanted the cars. Now I want the level of bhakti they want. And that's an
yes,
eternal aspiration. That's the correct.
yeah.
We're always thinking, "Oh, this devotee is better than me." You must have read the Brihat Bhagavatam, the Brihat Bhagavatam.
Nah.
It's the 3 volumes on
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and Narada Muni tries to find the best devotee, right?
Right, yeah.
And he travels all through the universe. Remember? Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's good. I mean, of course. But what, keeping it back to this topic now, as we kind of wrap up a little bit, I wanted the viewers and the listeners to understand that what had happened in your previous Krishna conscious days shaped you, right? The people you associated with, the aspirations you had, those businessmen had, and when we come to bhakti,
Yeah.
that's still there.
Yeah.
Now let's do the opposites. Imagine you had grown up and you simply had worked for someone in a job you didn't like, right?
Yeah.
Around negative people who weren't successful, and you took on their habits and you took on the idea, well, life's just like this. I'm a victim. There's no point aiming for anything, right? Now, do you think if you had grown up like that and you come to Bhakti, you would be doing what you're doing now?
No, I think, yeah, I
Yeah,
would. Yeah.
yeah, you would be battling with, oh, I'm no,
I would.
So I think it's a really good example of, like, as devotees, we do have to understand what is the mindset we're bringing in to Bhakti that could be holding us back in our Bhakti, because it's a material mindset, right? So that's what we do in Thriving Bhakti. We address the material concepts of themselves, the material mindsets they've got that could be actually, because if you think about the mindset, what I call an entrepreneur,
Right.
we're entrepreneurs, right? We're into Krishna Om, right? So I have a podcast called Entrepreneurs. It's for new
Yeah.
people, but we're actually similar to an entrepreneur. Why?
Yeah.
Because we have to move away from a fixed mindset. I am the body and the mind.
Yeah.
I'm actually a spirit soul. And I now have a goal, which is Goloka Vrindavan. And I have to, Tamsa Tiksha Bharata, I have to learn to tolerate hits from the material energy, ups and downs, happiness and distress. I can assure you that when you were running your business, you went through highs and lows,
Yeah.
but you learn how to not quit. Of course, at
Yes.
the end, you quit because it was Krishna, it was something spiritual happening within you.
Yeah.
But you would have kept going to make that business work unless it really did crumble, right?
Yeah.
So similarly, we have to do that for Krishna, right? We
Yes.
just have to keep going
Yeah.
despite challenges. So that's a mindset. That's a thinking, right?
Yeah.
So it's really, you know, great to have you on here, and I think mixing, you know, combining that with the health advice, that what we've done in the past in terms of our health and how we're eating, even in our Krishna consciousness, we need to right now, today, think about what am I doing right now in terms of my health, my exercise. I mean, those who are on here, if anyone wants a health consult, I do a free health consult for 30 minutes and get devotees to think a bit of common sense around health, just common sense. But it's just getting them to think, like, how can I invest in my health now? So when I'm in my 50s and 60s,
Yeah.
I don't have to have so much ailment coming at me and hitting me so hard. I can actually have quite a healthy life as I get older. Yes, the pains will come. Yes, the old age and disease will come. Yes, the body will break down. What is our destiny? We can get into all that, but we can, at least within our control right now, is we can do the best
Yeah.
for our health in the future. And I do honestly find it quite tragic to see some of the health of older devotees when, in terms of how they're really maybe eating and their exercise. And I think a lot of that again is down to mindset.
Mindset.
So
Yeah.
some of the people on here might be thinking, well, I didn't grow up with a business and I didn't get around people who taught me success and stuff like that. And said, well, you can learn that. That's a skill set, and a mindset can be learnt. Um, so I'm really resonating with you because I've done a lot with my health over the years, and um, I have do you have children?
Yeah, I do have two boys. Yeah, grown-up boys though.
Yeah, they're all grown up now. How old are they now?
One is 31 and another one is 25.
Wow, grown up men now. They're men now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. One is in Adelaide. The younger one is in Adelaide, and the
Right.
older one is right in front of me, sitting here.
Right.
He's doing medicine, so he's
Nice.
yeah.
Yeah, he should
So
know that medicine. Study medicine, but make sure people do exercise.
I mean, he's got a background as well. I'll just take 2 minutes on
Yeah,
that.
yeah, go ahead.
We always wanted see them when you talk about mindset. I really appreciate he's my son, but uh, uh, when he was studying in Auckland, when he tried getting into medicine here. he couldn't get. He was knocked off in the interview round and the final round. As 1 in 3 chances, and he couldn't make it. So he did his BSc, he did his master's into what's that, health science or some,
Mm,
and he ended up being a respiratory physiologist.
mm,
He started working during COVID time up at Super Clinic up in Manukau for a few years.
yep.
And then suddenly one day, something, he said, no, I want to become a doctor. And now I'm doing the same job, but this job is getting monotonous, the same people coming in. I want to do something different. It's getting monotonous. So he tried, he tried getting into medicine over here again. And then he found a way to get into Otago. They've got 25 seats reserved for uh, those who have got working experience.
Ah, so now yeah, funny.
So yeah, and luckily it worked for him. He wanted to be a doctor, and he's nearly there. I think another 2 years, and he'll be a qualified doctor. Yeah,
Oh, wow, that's a bit of a journey. He kept the goal
yeah,
in
yeah, it is.
mind.
So yeah,
Mindset.
yeah,
He
mindset.
didn't give up. He became a solution orientated. He said, okay, I can't go this way, I'll go this way.
Yeah,
And somehow with the like Krishna says, whatever you think about, you obtain,
yeah,
not just spiritually. So, like even smart materialists understand that if you visualize and you meditate, Dayato Vishayam Pumsam, you
yeah,
meditate on the objects of the senses, right? There is an outcome.
yeah.
Now, it ain't going to be easy and it might not be exactly how you want. That's the nature of this world, but you get the outcome, right? Yeah, he must have inherited that from someone
Oh yeah,
or learned that from someone. Yeah.
yeah,
But awesome. Yeah, it's great coming on, and I think it was a
thank
real
you,
live like
thank you.
this literally podcast happened from us meeting and just talking about health and looking at Prabhu
Yeah.
here, how healthy he is, and we want to encourage. I'm going to say something, and you can say something. Well, no, you go first. Just a last few words of encouragement around mindset and health. You'd like to
Yeah.
that you would share that just from what you think would be good for devotees and
See, as we say, Janma, Mrityu, Jara, and Vyadi, you can't avoid that.
yeah,
Your birth, your death, old age. But Vyadi, what you call the sickness, that's within control. You can control if you
mm,
keep good health, you
mm,
take care of yourself,
yeah,
you know. And after reading Bhagavad Gita and all, listening to Prabhupada, a soul can't live in a sick body.
yeah. It's hard, eh?
It's hard, you can't keep the soul happy in
No,
a sick body.
yeah,
So you have to be fit, you have to be mentally
and
very strong.
yeah,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
the cheapest way and the most effective way, one of them, not the only, but the most effective way is please everyone make a plan, even if it's 5 minutes a day, do some exercise, move that body. Trampolining is awesome. It's less impact. I do trampolining, rollerblading. I do swimming with my son. Lots of different sports. We do badminton in the garden.
well,
But find something that I would say like from going into specifics, please every devotee like reduce get rid of your deep fried food. Try to move away into healthy oils. Don't, and the portions, as Prabhu was saying here, don't just eat regulated portions. You can get lots of advice around your body type and how much you need and what your nutrients. And this is what I get devotees to get a blood test every 6 months or a year. How's your iron? How's your B12? How's your thyroids? You can just go to a doctor if you're a bit sick and say, I need a blood test. A lot of devotees. I had a brahmachari came to me a couple of years ago. He said, I'm really low on energy. And so I said, when did you get a blood test done last? He said, oh, it's 8 years ago. And he's taking all these supplements. I said, well, how do you know you're not taking too much of something? So these are the kind of things I cover if anyone wants to learn some common sense and some things they can do to check out where they're at and where they need to move, because we want devotees to stay healthy, right? And bounce around and dance in kirtan as long as they can, right?
yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for that. And thank you for sharing your journey. And I hope the viewers also got a sense of like how we all of us have to look what have we carried in from our pre-Krishna consciousness that might be serving us and what isn't serving us in terms of our thinking, because this is where our problems lies, because you can't solve a problem with the same thinking that created the problem. So the thinking changes. Yeah. Well, thank you for your time. I look
Thank
forward to
you.
catching up with you in person soon.
Sure,
And
Prabhuji.
yeah, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji.